205. Hello and welcome, Exiles, to one of the fastest moving characters I've ever had on a League Star. We actually got to 200 movement speed before even finishing the campaign, which felt wild. It felt like almost like I was playing with a Mage Blood. Except for the one small downside of our character is a ranger that's kind of made of glass. We don't have that much life. We just have some potato rare. We're starting to get suppressed plus lucky, hopefully, here. But all in all, let's get into what we did for the character. So to start off with, how do we get so much movement speed? It's through a few different sources. Number one is the Ascendancy itself gives 30 movement speed if your boots are empty. Our first node was Oath of the Magi, and I have never felt so good after a normal lab before. This, we had boots empty and helmet empty, which basically meant we could have terrible gear, but yet still be res capped because this node gives 80 all Ellie res and 30 movement speed from boots. So that helped us get some nice movement speed right out the gate. And then we followed that movement speed up with also getting movement speed from Creighton. That's who we helped. We also got movement speed from Aspect of the Lynx. We got movement speed from the quick step notables. We got movement speed from these notables over here. We got movement speed from this notable here. We have movement speed via Art of the Gladiator, which takes away the debuff that the body armor, each body armor type puts a reduced movement speed multiplier on your character, and that gets rid of it. It ignores the movement speed penalty. We have movement speed through Onslaught on Kill. We have movement speed through the Evasion Mastery, movement speed if you haven't been hit recently. It all kind of stacks together. We got a lot of this, and the end result was, even with a 25 movement speed pair of boots, when we have Onslaught and Quicksilver on, our character was close to 200% movement speed. Now, I played the majority of the campaign with haste, and that's part of the just go fast mentality. But once we get towards the end of the campaign, I'd recommend swapping towards Grace, because we want to start working towards having a good evasion number on our character, because eventually on Uberlab, we're going to get forest tracking, and evasion also is an important part of having our character feel good defensively. The good news is evasion on our character will also get scaled with shrines. I decided to go for the shrine nodes first because the shrine nodes just give you some alternating benefits. Occasionally you'll get a speed shrine, you'll feel like you're just flying at Mach 10. And occasionally you'll get, Echo Shrine, Res Shrine, Life Shrine, Impenetrable Shrine. There's some good stuff in here that you occasionally roll. But other than that, we're kind of just zooming through the zone, proccing our Onslaught on Kill, and running on through. One thing I want to note for this character is we're using Trinity in the Lynx, which means you need to make sure you've balanced your damage somewhat. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the character's tooltip, you need to make sure that if you have 2 or 3 elemental damage types, just 2 of them, one of them or 2 of the elemental damage types needs to have ranges that cross over. For example, the lowest number on my fire, which it says 500, needs to be lower than the highest number of another elemental damage type. So the lightning, which goes to 1400, will obviously sometimes roll higher than fire, sometimes roll lower than fire. That's all you need. You need 2 elemental damage types that sometimes one deals higher than the other to activate Trinity, and that's how we're getting Trinity into the build. Another thing I want to note is we are playing with Rain of Arrows. This skill is great for the campaign. Once you get out of the campaign into maps, I'm going to keep playing with it for a bit, but ultimately you start getting more density, and skills like Lightning Arrow or Elemental Hit of the Spectrum start to become a lot more tempting options because those options scale well as you get more pack size. I'm going to play with Rain of Arrows for a bit today and then probably work my way towards swapping. Ultimately, our end game goal is to do Tornado Shot, but in order to do Tornado Shot, you really need a lot of additional projectiles, which is like, for example, the Ramako Sniper tattoos, bows which have plus projectiles, quivers which have plus projectiles, get the plus projectile nodes on the tree, stuff like that will all help us get towards the goal of playing Tornado Shot late game. Right now we're Rain of Arrows, but we're probably going to consider swapping maybe to Lightning Arrow or Elemental Hit of the Spectrum maybe today. If not, maybe we'll just keep playing with Rain of Arrows until we're ready to swap to Tornado Shot. But anyways, that goes over kind of like the skill choice. Another thing I want to take note of, okay, yes, Oath of Magi feels very good with the empty sockets here, but one big downside is the way you get early good single target on bow builds is actually using artillery, ballista totems, and maybe some extra mana forge setups. So the downside of the Oath of the Magi is you can't do that. It's worked fine for me so far, but ultimately the big part for that being okay is you need to make sure you're upgrading your bow, either via gambling it or go to the trade site and make sure you keep buying upgrades for your bow when you can. Another big source of flat throughout the campaign is in Act 3, you get the bench crafts for flat lightning and flat fire. And you just want to craft this on whatever open prefixes on glove, rings, amulet, quiver, wherever you can. And those crafts, I'll just highlight the zones, are in Solaris, in the door that's next to Diala, the kind of a back room where there's like a fake map device. That's the firecraft. And then the lightning flat damage craft is when you fight Piety in that room you fight Piety in. So yeah. Anyways, that's where you get the crafts, craft flat damage, and then make sure you're always trying to upgrade your bow. That's the big source of your damage. Ultimately, Prism Weave is a great flat damage source as well. If you can get one of these, they're pretty solid for an early game belt for damage. So yeah, anyways, that's the first day of the character. That's kind of what we're working with. Ultimately, the goal for today is maybe by the end of the day I can swap to Tornado Shot. We will see. Probably not. I mean, Ramako tattoos are probably not going to really exist this early on. They require doing the totem mechanic. Another thing I want to say is I did start trying the totem mechanic. I finished the campaign at around 4 hours and like 10 minutes. Since then, I was level 66 and about 80% XP or 90% XP when I finished the campaign. Since then, all my playtime has been doing like 3 or 4 Tota tournaments. And I have to say, the XP just doesn't move. It probably doesn't start giving good XP until you get much higher ranks. In which case, I think it's moving a bit too slow. I was going to try to just go all in on Tota and just make my currency through that, but the XP is really slow, and I want to level up my character. I want to get suppressed lucky. I want to start getting some more defensive layers in the character, so I'm probably going to have to go to maps or do heisting. I'll probably do one of those two. Heisting, I think, would really work well with a character that has all this movement speed built into it, so maybe we'll consider that for our early currency farm. But yeah, anyways, that's where we're at with the character for day 1. Hopefully you've been enjoying your league start for the Tota event. Tomorrow, we'll probably have some pretty big updates where we're working our way towards a Foulborn Perfect Form, maybe working our way towards a Replica Albrons. Probably not, though. It'll probably be out of our price range. The goal is to get toward working our way towards the basically Tornado Shot, Extra Proj, and those unique items to support the life evasion scaling synergy we're going to go for. That's the goals. Right now, we're just a basic bow character. And basic bow characters, it's all about just getting better flat damage, working your way towards tamings, getting a decent weapon, stuff like that. And so anyways, I'll give you an update for tomorrow. We'll stream all the progression today, and we'll see where we end up. Thanks for watching, Exiles. Take care, and peace out. Have a good one.